So I appreciate these legislators. I know, to get beat up every day, I go down and sit in these hearings and tax after tax and give me this and give me that, and I don't know how they do it. So they do need your prayers and your support, so I just really appreciate them. So Cindy Jacobsen is representative in the 25th district, which we're sitting and standing in that district right now.
Just barely.
Yeah, so thank you.
We're just barely in the 25th district. And I was going to say, based on the location of this meeting tonight, some of you might be in other districts. So I would encourage, Jean's got this, find your legislator. How many people know what legislative district they're in? Okay, so how many people are, name some districts they're in. The 28, okay. And you're in district, which one? 28. So, for instance, you've got Democratic legislators in the 28. So if you're sitting here and you do this legislative district finder and you find you're in the 28, email them about every gun bill. Oh, I'm not standing where I'm supposed to be. Okay. Email them about every gun bill. I mean, if you get your inbox just flooded with emails about things, your assistant will flag that for you. As a legislator, I'm telling you the, inside scoop what happens. And they'll say, hey, you've got 50 emails about this. So that amplifies your voice. So, I would encourage you to do that for the hearing on Friday that she's talking about for, what's the hearing on Friday? The 3D gun printing that we passed out of that house, and that's a Senate hearing, and that's where I'm stumbling. Okay, so that's one of the ones that we passed out of the House, but we did pretty doggone well in the House this time. The House Republican opposition, and remember, they are 59, and what house is to add up to 98? It's been a very long week. I'll tell you about the schedule. So they're 59 and we're 39. So that, for us to do well in stopping bills took a tremendous amount of effort. And the way that it goes, she mentioned that committee cutoff deadline, but then the 17th was the deadline to get it off the House floor and get it over to the Senate. And anything that doesn't get done by that time is dead. But now she's right. It can get thrown into another bill. They can call it necessary to implement the budget and pass it anyway. But it's likely that a lot of the things are dead that have been proposed. So the firearms bills, we did pretty well this time. We had the 3D printing one. We have the one she talked about, the gun zone bill, 1598. They could resurrect that, but I don't see it on the committee schedule in Civil Rights and Judiciary. So I'm hoping we don't see that one. The restrictions on elected law enforcement, I think that Senator McCune is going to talk about that one, right? Okay, so that one's still in play. But we did pretty well in the House. We only passed 197 bills off the House floor, which is the smallest number of bills that we have ever passed since 2011. And what that means is we killed a lot of bills. What is still alive? I've got what's still alive for the Republicans. And what's still alive that we passed in the House? We passed some really troublesome stuff about voting rights, 1710 and 1750. We raided the pension fund for the left-wing officers of about $4 billion, and it was late at night. I, of course, voted against that. I would vote for some kind of pension readjustment if they applied that money to the left two people or to another pension plan, because the pension is overfunded. But that's kind of, inside baseball. I'm on the pension policy committee. But to just come in and just raid $4 billion is just despicable. It's, yeah, it is. It's terrible. So that went through. We're hoping the Senate can kill that. Quite a few various taxes that we increased, although not as many as in the past. A lot of times we will, and I'm in the finance committee too, we will vote to allow localities to increase taxes. And it'll be for children and families. It'll be for public health clinics. It'll be for developmentally disabled individuals. And so we'll vote in finance, we like that cause. Let's allow localities to raise their own taxes to cover it. Or even it'll be for law enforcement. And so we're going to allow the localities to, raise taxes to cover that stuff. We vote no in the finance committee, our Republican folks. We vote no every time on that. Because it doesn't matter what good thing you're doing, if you're planning to raise taxes or allow localities to raise taxes, we're voting no. So we did stop a lot in the House. One thing that's coming up in the finance committee that I'm on Tuesday morning, the income tax on millionaires. Okay, so you're thinking, why do I care about that? Well, I'm certainly not bringing in $1 million a year, let me tell you. But the problem with it is millionaires are mobile. They can move anytime they want. Yep. You know that song, the Beatles song? This is probably an old enough crowd, you'll know it. Oh, I'm the tax man. Whoa, I'm the tax man. And then they'll just tax everything. If you take a walk, they'll tax your feet. No, that song, I always think of it when they're doing these income taxes. So they're planning on an income tax. It's unconstitutional. The hearing is Tuesday morning at 8 in finance. And so I would love some comments. We're kind of competing with the Senate to see who can get the most comments against that income tax, or just at least signing in and registering your voice as con. So, anyway, you think that an income tax on millionaires wouldn't affect people, but it's going to affect our revenue. It's going to affect our job creators. They're going to be leaving town. Our philanthropy is already affected in this state over the capital gains tax. A lot of people took off and left after that. We are having to roll back the highest state taxes that we passed, some of the highest in the nation, because they're finding that people are leaving before they die. So retired people are like, I'm not paying that. I'm going to go make my domicile in another state so I don't have to pay that tax. So they're finding that people can avoid the tax by leaving, and it's not good for Washington. And then the other reason why that millionaire's tax is a no good, very bad thing is because one of their Democrat folks on the finance committee said, yeah, I think this tax is a good idea, but people are going to leave and it won't work. And then he said, and this is a Democrat leader, he said, and I know that by 2030, everybody's going to be paying that tax. They're going to lower and lower and lower the threshold. And then after a while, we'll just be used to it. And then they'll make the amount higher and higher. So you cannot trust them. We don't want that income tax. Sign in Tuesday morning on that if you would like.
I just wanted to add one thing to the tax bill that a lot of people maybe don't know. I was a vice president in the banking industry, and I did loans up to $50 million, so I analyzed a lot of tax returns. Your professional businesses, your sole proprietors, your sub-S corps, some of the LLCs, that revenue, gross revenue, shows up on the personal tax returns. So the ultra wealth, like I've looked at athletes' tax returns, and I paid more taxes than they did because they had estate planning attorneys and accountants to shelter everything. But this bill is going to hurt that $500,000 and up, upper middle income professionals. A lot of dentists are still reporting on their personal tax return. And how that's going to impact all of you then is all of those prices will go up or they'll leave. Like I've just been driving a friend of mine to a doctor up in Seattle because there's none down here. And so those professionals will leave. So it's not just millionaires and billionaires. It's that upper middle income that this bill is going to really hurt. And then they'll pass the cost on to you guys.
Yeah, I didn't want to jump into pass-through entities because I thought that was too much inside baseball, but thanks, Jane. Yeah, so people have to pass through their entire income if they have a sub-S corporation or something, and it's called a pass-through entity, and it's going to really hurt businesses because a lot of them have a lot of revenue coming through onto their IRS form, and that's just how their business organization system works. So that is Senate Bill 6346. So that's another one on Tuesday morning. They're having a hearing. We would love for people to sign in con for that, following the directions that James got. Don't get discouraged. We really were effective out in a way that was more than our numbers in the House this time. We really were, and we were very encouraged. So the way the schedule works is, this is the short session, and we just on the 17th had the House of Origin cut up, which means all the bills have to be over to the Senate in order for them to be, still alive. And at 5 o'clock, they bring up what's called the 5 o'clock bill. And it's usually a real stinker. And this time it was going to be this bill to allow juveniles to get their sentence looked at and get out of custody or incarceration in the middle of their sentence. So cutting juvenile sentences in half. It was despicable. It was bad. Because, you're not talking about juveniles who are in just a little bit of trouble. You're talking about juveniles who've committed really serious crimes. And actually, personally, I think the reason that we've got that problem is because we don't, forgive this analogy, smack them upside the head the minute they get out of line. And then when they get away with a lot of stuff, and then pretty soon they're doing really terrible things. So they had this bad, very bad juvenile justice sentencing bill that they were going to do. Darn it, they didn't have the votes over there to do it. We had our amendments, and that's another way we kill bills is we put, 50 amendments on it, and they have to pick which one of their bad bills. If they're running late, they get to run because it's going to take forever to run our however many amendments we put on. So we had all our amendments ready. We were ready to go. They sent us home that night on the House of Origin cutoff because they didn't have the votes for that. So I think that at least in some way, the voters are getting through and we're seeing a little bit of a change. Now, we're not going to see a real change until, that time of year when I'm not supposed to talk about when I had my assistant make this appointment. But, and that's, we could change our numbers, okay? So we're not going to see real change unless we get real change in our numbers. But I think we are seeing some change. So I'm a bit encouraged by the job that the House did this year. Has anybody got any questions before I jump over to Jim?
Questions at the end.
Hold your questions till the end. All right. Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay. I will put the microphone over to Jim then.